What's up guys, and welcome back to another chapter review of Simp Saw Man. And I think Simp Saw Man is a name befitting of this momentous occasion because in today's review of chapter 102, we're gonna talk about the return of the king. The king of ass and titties, that is. Denji's back, gamers, and he's already indirectly caused the deaths of at least 3 people, including a 5-year-old, and today we're gonna talk about that amongst other things. But before any of that, class is once again in session. I've linked a poll at the top of the description where you guys can vote on what grade you think this chapter of Chainsaw Man Part 2 should get, A, B, C, D, or F. And in next week's chapter review video, we'll go over the overall chapter GPA of this chapter as well as your comments on this video right here. Speaking of which, let's just quickly look at your guys' thoughts on chapter 101. I think that was probably the most votes I've ever gotten on one of these chapter GPA polls, so thank you guys so much for voting if you did. And after taking all of your guys' votes into consideration, we got an overall chapter GPA of 3.61. In looking at this 3.61, we can conclude that Fujimoto doesn't miss. On average, dude just keeps getting A's after A's after A's. But more so than just your votes in that poll, let's look at some of your guys' comments. So William Dawson left a long one, but I thought it was really interesting, so I wanted to share it with you guys. In US history, it said between World War II and during the Cold War that the levels of fear had reached its peak for everyone on Earth with the threat of Nazis and nuclear war. If you think about it, these two devils were probably incredibly strong at the time. The fear probably indirectly made war one of the most terrifying devils. It's probably the other horsemen who organized the devouring, but Chainsaw Man ate not only Nazis, but nuclear weapons. That could not have set well with war, which is probably why its motivation is to make Denji throw up nuclear weapons. Also, the war devil is probably one of the weakest of the horsemen at the moment because there's no threat of war in Chainsaw Man. So I thought this theory in particular was really interesting, which is why I wanted to share it with you guys. Obviously, we'll never actually know what Fujimoto's cooking up until he gives it to us, but if it's something like this, I'd be pretty happy with it. That's why I like theories like these. The next comment's by my boy Salad, who hit us with another tasty observation. I totally got those Chunibyo vibes from War Devil for a bit too. Also, it might relate back to how the War Devil was comparing bullying with humans and devils in last chapter. Could it be the War Devil was actually bullied by other devils, even the other horsemen? It would be an absolute hilarious revelation and totally fits Yoru's character at this point. Also, Yoshida was definitely up to something for being absent on this day. Curious to see if Fujimoto will play that straight or subvert expectations like usual. That's about all for your guys' comments today, but if you want to leave your comments on this video down below, we might talk about it next week. And while you're down in the description checking out that voting link, why don't you leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you like more Chainsaw Man related content. Okay, now that I've shilled my channel enough, let's finally talk about chapter 102. That was easily the shortest 47 pages I've ever read in my entire life. This isn't a complaint at all because we've once again been blessed by a chapter so cinematically crafted it felt like watching a movie. If it sometimes takes a week or two between chapter releases so Fujimoto can cook up some more fire, I will gladly give Fujimoto the time he needs in the kitchen. I know we're probably all foaming at the mouth to talk about Denji's return, but I quickly want to talk about Yoru and Mitaka this chapter and more of the implications of the War Devil's powers. I may be reading into this wrong, but I'm pretty sure Yoru just confirmed this chapter that Mitaka can actually turn people into weapons without being in War Devil form. Like how Yoru told Mitaka to kill Yuko and turn her into a weapon to kill the Bat Devil, even though she can't really trade bodies when she's scared, I can only assume that she has this power as well. Also, a quick side note, I can't believe I didn't notice this before as someone who considers themselves fairly Nihongo Jozu, but there's actually a connection between Mitaka and Yoru's names as well. Mitaka's first name Asa and Yoru. Asa means morning in Japanese, and Yoru means night in Japanese. This is probably an inconsequential detail, but now you guys have that little trivia quib that you can tell your friends at your next gathering. We also got to see another Chainsaw Man moment in this chapter with more of Mitaka's backstory and lore, and how she got her mother killed trying to save a cat. And as someone who has a little snookums myself, I think that's a decent trade-off. I'm kidding, Mom, if you're watching this, which, dear Lord, I hope you're not. I was a little confused at first because I thought the lore was that Mitaka's parents were killed and eaten by devils, but after rereading chapter 1, it seems like that was just conjecture amongst the gossiping students that don't actually know Mitaka that well. They're probably exaggerating it for story purposes and whatnot. It was cool to see the Typhoon Devil again, albeit in a somewhat different form from part 1. I feel like Fujimoto's just using devils like From Software uses bosses in Dark Souls and Elden Ring. You have to fight the Tree Sentinel again, but he's in a different form this time. He looks different, I don't know. So at this point in the video, I've either edged you long enough or you clicked the timestamp in the description that said Denji. Which if you did, gotcha! Go back and watch the parts about Mitaka too, there's some important lore in there. But anyway, let's finally talk about Denji. In this chapter of Chainsaw Man, Denji saves a cat. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about. See ya. Just kidding, there's actually plenty of story building implications that could be made from Denji's brief appearance in this chapter alone. First of all, how many fucking cataclysmic events are there gonna be in the middle of this city? It's either this is an exceptionally dangerous day in the Chainsaw Man universe, or this takes place in the same world as One Punch Man. Either way, we can assume that a lot of people died in this chapter, whether it was because of collateral damage from the kaiju-sized devil fights, or that one high schooler and the people in the car that Denji failed to save. And this highlights the fact that Denji really hasn't changed that much from part 1. He cares in general about saving humanity from the devils, but on a small scale he doesn't care if a few people die in the process. Honestly, I'm fairly certain his sole motivation is just pussy, whether it be the kind found on a human being or a cat hanging from a ledge. And I'm gonna be real with you, I don't want to hear any of this, oh, he's just another generic horny shonen protagonist, cause he isn't. There is no character from any other manga that I know that is this motivated by catching some ass that it's actually unique again. This was a really long-winded way to say that Denji as a character still resides in a somewhat morally gray area. If this were a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, his alignment would probably be chaotic neutral, leaning a little bit towards chaotic good. But from here, we will likely finally get to see the first interactions between our new main character, Mitaka, and our old favorite Denji. It'd be really funny if the next chapter starts with Mitaka opening her eyes and Denji's there like, hey you, you're finally awake. The gamers will get that one. But we're gonna have to wait at least a week to find out. I say at least a week because the Viz app usually says how long it'll be until a new chapter drops for most series, like 7 days or something. But it stopped saying that for Chainsaw Man, similarly to other unscheduled series like Chojin X. So potentially we might actually have a bit more of a sporadic release schedule so Fujimoto has more time to cook up some fire. But that's about all for today's chapter review. If you like this series, let me know by leaving a like down below and subscribing to my channel. Make sure to stay up to date by hitting the bell button down below next to that gray subscribe button. Also follow me on social media for more updates. I have links to my Twitter and Instagram down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.